Hey guys, it's John from RideTech, and this is your Tuesday Tech Tip. Guys, today I wanted to tell you how to service your RidePRO valve blocks. Now, there are a couple different options that we've used throughout the years, and a couple that are still current today. Originally, there was a two-way valve block. In some instances, these were actually two paired together to make a four-way. We then have the four-way RidePRO Valve Block that uses 1/4-inch lines. It comes with either silver coils or a black coil. And then you have the big one, big red, 3/8 lines. We use this in heavy applications, large trucks, big Cadillacs, Lincoln Continentals, anything that you need a large volume of air supplied to. Circumstances that could cause the solenoid not to operate correctly are the presence of debris, condensation, or abnormal wear on the internal parts inside of the valve block itself. One of the things that I wanted to show you guys was actually how to disassemble one of these, clean it, reassemble it, and check a few things while we're in there to make sure that everything is operating the way it should. Basic disassembly of any RidePRO valve block is going to be very similar. There are a few differences between the valve blocks themselves. I'll show you how to go over that in just a second. Basic hand tools are all you're going to need to take this apart. 9/16 wrench, a flathead screwdriver, and a pick to take out the O-ring. Begin by removing the 9/16 nut on top of the coil. Remove the coil itself. Take your flathead screwdriver, insert it in the slot. Remove the stem. Be careful when you take this apart because the plunger is actually spring loaded. Last thing you want to do is lose that. So there is your valve stem. This is your plunger. And then if you notice inside there's an O-ring. Go ahead and pop that O-ring out while you got it apart. With the plunger, the valve stem, and the coil disassembled, there are a few things I want you guys to check out while this is apart. Look inside of the valve stem and make sure there's no debris present, no condensation, no rust or anything of that nature. And then also check out the end of the plunger. It's not uncommon for there to be a slight dimple on the end of the rubber tip, but what you want to look for is something that's a little more extreme. If you notice on this one, there's a nice protrusion where the plunger tip has actually become formed inside of the orifice on the valve block. If there is a large dimple, like you see on this plunger here, we do offer replacement components. We can get you some of these sent out, get your valve block working correctly. Again, make sure the spring and everything is correct, that it all looks good on this one. Inside of the valve stem is great. Visually check the orifices on the valve block. If you do see debris in there, you can clean it out with compressed air, a little brake cleaner, whatever works best for you guys. Don't get brake cleaner on the end of the rubber tip. It could distort that and cause premature wear. So after you've made sure there are no obstructions in the orifices of the valve block, it's time to reassemble. Before reassembly, we like to recommend that you use a little bit of air tool oil just to kind of keep everything nice and loose when it goes back together. Rub a little on the O-ring. Reinsert that back into the valve block. I like to take a little, put it on my finger, rub it around the plunger, reinsert that back into the stem, screw it back onto the valve block, with the valve stem finger tight back in the valve block, take your flathead screwdriver, just give it a slight turn to keep it in there nice and snug, then you can reinstall the coil. With this one reassembled, I wanted to show you some of the differences between your silver coil valve block and your Parker coiled valve block. Whether it be the 3/8 big red valve block or a smaller 1/4-inch line Parker equipped valve block, removal of these is basically the same. The only difference is you're actually going to need to double nut the stem itself to remove it. There's no screwdriver slot in these. Use a 9/16 wrench again, take off the nut and the washer. Take the nut and the washer off of another coil. Remove the coil. Install one nut and then another. Use your 9/16 wrench to remove the stem. Once the valve stem is removed, be careful not to lose your spring. Then remove your plunger. Okay. With your plunger and your valve stem removed, remove the O-ring. Lube those like we did on the other pieces. Once you've inspected for any abnormal wear or debris, it's okay to reassemble it. As you can see, servicing one of these valve blocks is pretty straightforward. There's not a lot to it. If you do have any questions about the valve block itself or the way it operates, call into our tech line, 812-481-4787, or you can jump on our website, RideTech.com, go under the Knowledge and Articles tab, and print you off a copy of the Solenoid service instructions. These are real handy to have at the workbench. Appreciate you guys watching, and we'll see you soon.